Jeff, I'm not happy. I want a divorce. Jeff was taken aback, but he wasn't entirely caught off guard. They'd been married nearly 20 years, but Darlene had been confiding in her friend and herself. Marriage expert Miranda has been saying a lot lately. Her expertise comes from her own 3 divorces. Jeff, are you listening? I want a divorce. Yes, Darlene. I heard you, but this is a serious matter, and I don't want to rush my response. I believe I've been a loving and dedicated husband and a good father. You haven't mentioned any issues in our marriage, so I'm in the dark about what's gone wrong. However, after hearing your words, my stance is that I can't bear the thought of your happiness being compromised by our marriage, though it hurts. I'll support you through this divorce, but I need to know if this is a recent issue or if it's been brewing for a while. Darlene responded, yes, gradually. I need some space and time to explore other opportunities and meet new people. I'm sorry, but you said it was fine before I brought up this nonsense about wanting a divorce. Can we just move past it and return to how things were? You said you were happy, and I was too, but I can't forget how you admitted to being unhappy and planned to have an affair with Robert. Like I said, you've already committed infidelity. Sally mentioned that she could easily draft the divorce papers since they're standard terms. She might even serve them tomorrow. I won't sign them, Darlene. She replied sharply, it doesn't matter. All Sally needs to do is ensure you're officially served. She might do it at your workplace to have many witnesses. Perhaps even Robert could claim alienation of affection. I could even serve your boss for violating company policy, but that's going too far. I need you to be able to care for the girls after the divorce. I know. I'll speak to Robert's wife. That should suffice for payback. Why are you so harsh? I love you, and you love me. Is there anything I can do to make things right? Jeff grabbed his suitcase and left. Darlene focused on. The last thing on her list was to tell Miranda what she thought of her. She said, listening to you was my worst mistake. Because of you I nearly lost everything dear to me. Don't contact me via call, text, email, or even think of me if our paths cross in public. Steer clear or I won't be responsible for my actions. Darlene was relieved to finally confront Miranda. She called Robert and told him what Jeff had asked her to say. She told him Jeff had begged her to meet him at the motel one last time. He'd been insulting and accusing her of being in the wrong. She'd warned him that she'd involve his wife if he didn't stop causing trouble. It was actually pretty easy to come up with reasons why Jeff should stay married. Darlene thought back to all the good times they'd had together and made a list of all the reasons she loved him. She even wrote a letter to Jeff, saying she was sorry for tricking him into thinking they were getting divorced. She went back to the kitchen and started her breakfast. As everything cooked, she glanced at her notepad listing items under the heading of liabilities and making changes to these tasks included things like adjusting the mortgage, homeowner's insurance, utilities, gas, water, electric, cable, cell phone plan, garbage service, internet security, car payment, car insurance, health insurance, dental insurance, Amazon Prime, LifeLock membership, Life Flight and Medac, among others. This was on top of the banking. They talked about the changes the night before on the next page. There was a list of his expected costs for staying in the apartment, along with a budget showing how much child support she'd need to live the way they do now. The plan showed there'd be a shortfall of several hundred each month. He also suggested ways to cut costs. This included cutting back on his regular trips to Waffle House and Starbucks, which seemed to amuse her. She suggested that the website was updated 3 days ago and showed him what his wife had written last. It seems like they're still very much together. Jeff pointed out that he never told him. He was married. I would never do anything to break up a marriage. Darlene insisted. But it seems like you're okay with breaking up our own marriage, though. Jeff retorted. There was a heavy silence as Darlene realized she was cornered and needed time to think. Robert was the primary reason she contemplated ending things, but she couldn't let Jeff find out about it. He was just one of several men I might consider dating. I can make a list just like you. She deflected, "Oh my God, I just remembered something crucial. If we decide to stay married after the separation, we need to exchange medical reports to ensure we're both free of sexually transmitted diseases." Jeff interjected, "You're being gross right now." Darlene shot back, "It's just a precaution." She admitted that she'd been pretty foolish. I was feeling pretty confident and presumptuous at that point. "I never thought I'd be at 7 o'clock," approached Darlene, feeling ready and self-assured. However, when the hour struck and Jeff hadn't returned, a hint of worry crept in. 5 minutes later, he reappeared without his luggage, his expression unchanged since he left earlier. Darlene attempted to remain compassionate and humble as she handed him her responses. "Here are my answers. I hope you reconsider." Jeff stared at the list for an extended period while perusing it, tears welling up in his eyes. Seeing Darlene also began to cry, thinking that his emotional display was a sign that he was hopeful. "This is really impressive," he said, although still hopeful. Darlene's heart fluttered as she rose to embrace him, but he gestured for her to remain seated. "Your effort is commendable," he said, "but I'm not sure you grasp the extent of the pain you've caused me." She considered mentioning his secretary being a gold digger, but decided it would make things worse. "No, I haven't finalized the lease agreement yet, though I had to explain why I was apartment hunting." She mentioned they typically don't do month to she was looking for a month-to-month rental, but she could probably make an exception for 90 days. "When Jenny found out about the divorce, she said she was interested in me. I was surprised by the age gap and didn't know if she found me attractive. I said no, because of the workplace rules against employees and managers having anything beyond a professional relationship. Jenny said she could find a job elsewhere if that was the issue. That's why I mentioned it on the list." Darlene was angry, but she kept her thoughts to herself, knowing they'd only make things worse if she said them out loud. Without waiting for Darlene's response, Jeff went on to share another piece of news that he thought she'd appreciate. "I saw you sleeping undressed and it turned me on. You're still the most beautiful woman I know. I'm not sure. I'm afraid that if we were to have sex, it would only be out of pity to relieve my pain over the divorce proposal. I was really hurt by the divorce proposal. I wasn't sure I could resist, darling. We're still married, after all. I belong to you and no one else. At least until we separate, we should act like husband and wife, shouldn't we? I'm afraid not. I'm more convinced than ever that we should start taking steps to separate. The official split won't start until the 1st of the month, but it essentially began on the 2nd, as you mentioned. I'm unhappy about it, but I really want to see you happy, even if I'm not around much anymore." Darlene told Jeff that their separation didn't mean they had to get divorced. She asked him to relax and give her some time to figure things out. She's confident that they'll stay married and even strengthen their bond. Jeff said that it was important to be discreet about their romantic relationships. They also talked about meeting partners elsewhere rather than bringing them home while the other parent was with the kids. They discussed the financial implications of maintaining 2 separate households and agreed that this would increase their expenses. Jeff explained that they would each need to adjust to managing and covering all expenses independently. He mentioned the common practice of dividing joint assets evenly in divorce cases, which would entail closing joint accounts and establishing child support arrangements. There's so much to address before the first day arrives. Darlene sat there in shock, uncertain of what to say. Jeff continued, "I'll look into renting an apartment closer to my workplace so the girls will have a bed when they stay over on the nights I have visitation. The standard visitation schedule in most divorces allows the non-resident parent to see the children every other weekend and on major holidays. You said divorce would be tough on both of us. Surely you don't want to avoid this pain? I promise I'll never bring up this divorce mess again. Please stay and let's work it out." Darlene pleaded tearfully. Jeff remained silent and motionless. Darlene felt she'd made an impact. Everyone makes mistakes. Please give me one more chance, Darlene implored. Finally, Jeff responded, "Thank you. Firstly, I'd like an apology for starting this whole thing. I'd also like you to ask me to forgive you." Secondly, tell Robert to stop contacting you. If he doesn't, I'll take legal action against him and your company. Thirdly, list all the reasons why I should stay married to you. Finally, call Miranda and tell her you never want to speak to her again. I'll consider staying married to you if I never hear about Miranda's input again. Do you understand what I'm asking? If you want us to have a chance at salvaging our marriage, yes, I believe so. I'll fulfill everything and be prepared by 7. See you at 7. The resident parent is to see the children every weekend and every other major holiday, unless otherwise agreed upon. Darlene said she was surprised that Jeff wasn't dating more often, noting how much he and their daughters enjoyed their time together. Jeff said he would remain involved in their lives as much as possible, but that Darlene and her partner should be prepared to take on some of the responsibilities he currently handles. He mentioned the potential challenges of weeknight visits due to school commitments. He also discussed the possibility of assisting a new partner's children with homework and activities. Darlene might need to help her new husband with his children as well. Jeff also mentioned logistical challenges such as managing belongings in 2 locations and transportation issues, particularly if he doesn't live on a bus route for their school, which could disrupt their routine. Miranda assured Darlene that her husband would manage everything, but Darlene wasn't convinced. Are you suggesting that you want a divorce? It seems I mistakenly believed I was fulfilling the role of a suitable husband, father, and partner. No, I'm not seeking a divorce, but I won't obstruct your future, darling. I never said you were inadequate. You've been a great husband, father, and partner. I just want to try new things and spend time with other people. It might make me happier. I just need some space. Legal separation will give me that freedom. Darlene, the fact that you need more than I can provide shows my weaknesses. He fell silent for a moment before continuing. Have you already spoken to a lawyer? She finished the paperwork and dismissed his comment about feeling inadequate. I haven't got the documents yet. I'm going to hire Junior Lewis. He handled Miranda's divorces, so I think she'll be involved in this one too. She's got a tough reputation, but it comes from her job. She's a real advocate for her clients, regardless of gender. My wife is on speakerphone so you can fill her in on the details about the trip. She has a few questions, as you might expect. Jeff, I'm really sorry you won't be able to go. It seems like you were genuinely looking forward to surprising your wife and enjoying your vacation. What specifics do you need, Mrs. Sinclair? Darlene demanded that you please outline exactly what's included in this trip. It's our 10th anniversary, so we're really excited. The trip includes accommodation at our top-rated hotels, meals, transportation, hula lessons, luau dinners, traditional tiki performances, opportunities for surfing, swimming, and dancing, all set in a romantic atmosphere. Many couples have found it to be a transformative experience for their marriage. When did your husband initially arrange this trip? Darlene was sure this would be a disaster. Let's check our records. He asked about it about 3 months ago and made his choice for this trip 2 months ago, paying 2 weeks later. Yesterday he called to cancel, so we gave him a 20% refund. Did you catch him or did he catch you with someone else? That's beside the point. I simply informed him that I needed some space and time to explore new relationships. Erica cut her off. Yes, you're looking for something on the side. Who is it? Are there multiple people? No, I haven't been involved with anyone yet. Jeff and I are just going through the 90-day separation. We're going to give it a few days and then we'll decide if we want to stay married or not. Okay, Erica said that Darlene was looking for someone else and that she wasn't bothered either way. She asked Darlene about their upcoming legal separation and said that if anyone wanted to have sex with Jeff, there was nothing Darlene could do about it. Erica said that she would pursue Jeff herself once Darlene was legally separated, promising to be faithful to him. She stood by her decision to separate from Jeff, pointing out that it was her idea, despite previously praising him as a husband, provider, and lover. When she arrived in the kitchen, she found that the coffee was already boiling and that Jeff was jotting down notes. He then resumed, "There's so much to consider. It's hard to know where to begin. I think we should start with discussing the children. What do you mean? Darlene inquired. Well, we need to explain the situation to them. We need to make sure that we both communicate the same message and reassure them that our divorce isn't their fault, Jeff explained. She said she was worried about telling their daughters. She thought they might not take it well and asked if there was any reason to tell them so soon. She suggested waiting out the 90 days and possibly avoiding telling them altogether. Jeff said they needed a plan for addressing their daughter's inevitable questions about the separation. He suggested that Darlene continue living in the house during the separation would let them keep things normal for the kids while still spending time together sometimes. Are the girls happy you called? Hi, Mom, Darlene said, sounding a bit unsure. This is Jeff, by the way. We're on speakerphone. Hang on, let me get Dad too. Darlene said, hearing her father's voice in the background. Harold, it's Jeff. Darlene, pick up, honey. What's going on? Guys, Harold joined the conversation. Darlene didn't say anything. Jeff spoke up, saying, Darlene knows now, so there's no need to keep it a secret. Son, we're sorry you can't go. You didn't mention why when you called earlier. I hope it's not health-related. When you called this morning and said we wouldn't babysit the girls for your Hawaii trip, we were disappointed to hear you couldn't make it. We were looking forward to having the girls with us for 10 days. We know how much Darlene wants to go, but she'd rather go with you than anyone else. Have you decided who to take? It'll be tough for whoever stays. Father, Dad, I haven't decided yet. How long ago did Jeff discuss the Hawaii trip with you? Now that I've had time to reflect on my life, I realize I'm not as unhappy as I thought. I'm sorry, but I've given this a lot of thought. I don't believe I could be content knowing that the possibility of divorce hangs over us. Even if you retract the divorce now, you can't. I can't get what you said out of my mind. I keep seeing what you and Robert did when you weren't doing anything special. I'm going to go ahead with the divorce, even if you change your mind. I don't know how I'll manage without you. Jeff then went to the guest bedroom upstairs. Darlene was really upset. She knew only one person to turn to, Miranda. She called, Hello, Darlene. What's wrong, Miranda? Everything has gone wrong. Miranda, Jeff found an apartment and his slim secretary is already flirting with him. Even my sister wants to date him. The worst part is he had tickets to Hawaii for our anniversary. He gave them to me to use, but he won't go. He said I could use them to take my new boyfriend. What do I do now? Hey, what's the problem? He'd booked 2 tickets for a 10-day Hawaii vacation, which he'd kept a surprise for their 20th anniversary. Darlene's demeanor shifted 180 degrees. Oh, Jeff, you know how much I've always wanted to go there, she said. I've always wanted to go there. It's amazing. I can't wait to relax on the beach and swim in the ocean. Thanks. However, Jeff's expression didn't match his wife's enthusiasm. When you mentioned divorce, I realized we might not make it to Hawaii. I tried to cancel and get a refund for our 20th anniversary. They said it was too late and only offered a 20% refund. After some thought, I realized the trip to Hawaii is more your dream than mine. I thought you might still want to go, so I asked them to change the tickets for you and a guest to be named later. It could be a great start to your new relationship if you can offer your new man an all-expenses-paid trip to Hawaii. Jeff, it was with you that I wanted to go to Hawaii. We could postpone the separation. In fact, I'm considering calling off. As far as I know, the court mandates that we be legally separated within 90 days of signing the papers. Maybe down the line I might change my mind and want to remain married. We might not need to go through with a divorce. Jeff pondered, that's similar to what I've heard from others going through divorces during the 90-day separation period. During the day separation period, we're both free to date other people without it being considered cheating. But ultimately, we both need to agree to halt the divorce. Either of us can proceed with the divorce without the other's consent. Jeff realized that Darlene didn't grasp that he had the same freedom as she did. I thought that if I filed the paperwork first, it would be up to me whether to continue the marriage or not. Proceed with the divorce. Darlene hesitated. Jeff objected. I don't think that's fair, but just to be clear, I'll also file so that we're on equal footing. Does that sound reasonable? Darlene stuttered, I suppose. Harold, I'm not sure. Do you remember? It was around New Year's, wasn't it? It was almost 2 or 3 months ago. He mentioned it early so we could stock up on snacks. These two can eat anything. Her mother said that Darlene never gained weight. Darlene's mother interjected, asking if everything was okay with Darlene. She also asked why Darlene's mother was asking if Jeff had talked to them when something had happened between them. Darlene's mother asked if Jeff had broken up with Darlene. Jeff said that they had decided to take some space from each other to recharge their marriage and then maybe reconcile. Darlene clarified that she wasn't going to lie to her parents. She said that they had always been honest with her. Jeff interjected, saying that her mother should be honest with her. He said that the first step in the divorce process is a 90-day separation. I'm going to take some time for myself today. Jeff explained that Robert is an old college friend and that we often hang out together. That's why I think Robert might be one of the men. Darlene said that they were considering it during their separation. Jeff asked how far they'd gone. She said that Robert was just a friend and that they'd barely done anything, just talked. She said that she thought he might be someone she'd like to date because he was always nice to her and complimented her appearance, even when she wasn't looking her best. Darlene admitted that anything could happen. Jeff pressed Darlene for more information. Her expression gave away the answer as she recalled the elevator scenes. Did you do anything that his wife wouldn't like? Continued wife. Hume's not married. Who told you that? Darlene confirmed that Robert's marital status is married to Cynthia and has 2 sons. Jeff asked, does that mean he's divorced? Darlene replied, maybe. I bet you were talking to your marriage guru, Miranda. She's a divorce expert, that's all she is. Don't try to provoke me by insulting Miranda. She's on my side. I saw through your Hawaii ticket scheme. You made that up just to pressure me into giving up everything. I still want a divorce and can't wait to finalize it. There are plenty of guys out there who desire me and are willing to meet my needs. You're right about that, especially about the attention you'll receive from other guys. I have no doubt you'll have numerous offers once they realize you're available. I just wanted to let you know that I'm available. I've always considered myself lucky to have such a stunning woman as my partner in raising our children and, until recently, a faithful wife and lover. I can prove that I'm not going to Hawaii, so please give Lois Simpson at Flightright Travel Agency a call. I'll dial her now. Hi, Lois. It's Jeff Sinclair again. The 3 unnamed women on the list were simply labeled as a waitress at Waffle House, a barista at Starbucks, and a clerk at Walmart. She wondered how many other women found him as appealing as Erica did. She hadn't anticipated him dating while they were apart, but now she wondered if he already had someone else in mind. Jeff came in and saw his wife looking through a notebook. He had a feeling about the upcoming conversation. It looks like you found a replacement for me already, he said. My own sister of all people. How could you? Darlene replied. I was just catching up with your. Jeff replied, what do you mean? I don't have a boyfriend. I just want to explore some new relationships. Darlene clarified, what about Robert Turner? I asked Darlene what Sylvia had said. Apparently, Robert Turner is one of our new partners. He visits your office often and you two have lunch together every day. I asked Darlene what was going on, given our company's strict policy against office fraternization. However, Darlene wasn't convinced, pointing out potential problems with their plan. She mentioned the difficulties of coordinating their social lives and the risk of one person feeling resentful if the other wasn't on board with going out. She also emphasized the importance of experiencing post they agreed that they needed to be open about the divorce and that their children would see them socializing with other people. They also discussed informing their extended family and friends to avoid suspicion of infidelity. They acknowledged the risk of their children blaming themselves despite reassurances and agreed that consistency in messaging and expressing love was important. They recognized the potential. They agreed that their kids would be fine, but said they needed professional counseling. Jeff said that their kids might get new grandparents from their other parents, which would be nice, but might also mean more gifts for special occasions. They also talked about how to handle things like birthdays and holidays. I wasn't really planning on dating anyone, especially since it's only for 90 days, but if I feel the urge, I can find someone. I'm sure you'd want to feel safe too. It's not just about you, it's about who you're carnal with, who they've been with, and so forth. Jeff tried to hide his enthusiasm for tightening nuts as Darlene saw. She changed the subject. You'll have easy access to your money, and I'll be sorting out the mortgage, utilities, and so on within the next week or so. I have some good news regarding finances. Did I mention that my secretary, Jenny, works as a night manager at the Royal Arms? These apartments are conveniently located, so I inquired about vacancies. They have there's a bedroom unit available, but we need to act fast. They're normally quite pricey, but she mentioned that if I became an apartment maintenance specialist, I could get a 50% discount on rent. That means more money for you and the kids. Have you signed the lease yet? We have 90 days, and if you play your cards right, you might just return here. I fear I must proceed with the divorce. Darlene was devastated. It felt as if her heart had been shattered. She collapsed to the floor and began to sob uncontrollably. Her grief plunged her into unfamiliar depths. In her despair, she lamented, "I've ruined my family's life. I'm the worst person alive. I don't deserve to live. How could I have been so foolish?" Jeff knelt before her and whispered, "Now you understand how I felt." Darlene continued to cry on the floor. Jeff approached the door but paused, glancing back at her. "During our separation, are we allowed to see other people?" he asked. Darlene was still emotional and struggled to respond. Her tears made it difficult for her to speak. If she could date other people, what were her plans for Friday night? Would she like to have dinner and catch a movie? Jeff asked if he could take her out on a date. Darlene was excited and agreed. She felt like they had changed their relationship irreversibly, but she was hopeful that they could start anew. He said he had doubts and announced he was taking the day off to handle division-related matters. He said Billy would oversee the maintenance crew during the day and outlined the arrangements regarding finances and accounts, emphasizing the need to act promptly. He also reminded Darlene not to be late for work, as he would prepare breakfast for the children and take them to school. Later on, Robert, a colleague of hers, came by the office to flirt with Darlene. She felt anxious but agreed to discuss enjoying music together at a later time. Her thoughts shifted from her separation from Jeff to memories of carnal moments with Robert in the elevator. Upon returning home from work, Darlene noticed signs that Jeff had been there during the day. Seeing this, she felt somewhat relieved. She was ready to talk about the money. It seemed like he was thinking, "I have 90 days to explore. We'll stay married, and then I'll try to figure out how to be in a relationship with Robert without getting caught." She looked at her notebook again. Jeff had added a few more items to the list, but she also noticed a new list. The list was called Possible Women for Today and had 2 columns, women who had already expressed interest and women who wanted to know if they were interested. The columns weren't extensive, but the names in the first column surprised her. One of them was her sister, Erica. Darlene immediately called Erica. "Hello, Erica," she said. "How are you? How dare you attempt to steal my husband?" "Hey, slow down. Jeff made a list of women who told him they wanted to date him, and your name is on it. I'm not sure about the list, but I once mentioned to him after I had a bit too much to drink that if he ever wisens up and leaves your foolish, unappreciative self, I'd be interested in taking your place." "Wait, what's happening?" "He's presenting you with a list of women who are interested in him. You're implying there's trouble in paradise. Listen, foolish girl. He's just trying to manipulate you. He's bluffing. There's no way he'll actually sign any papers. It's a shame he feels the need to list all the small things he does to make you feel more dependent on him than he is on you. The bottom line is you control the kids and what happens between your legs. These two things will keep him in line. It's all talk on his part. Don't worry about it. I hope you're right and you and Robert will be enjoying each other in bed and you'll still have a husband in a home. Well, Jeff hasn't taken any action yet, so I'll remain resolute at least until I see what his next move is. Thanks, Miranda. He's getting up. I have to go. Hey Jeff, would you like some coffee? Darlene asked nervously. Her husband shuffled over. I went to the coffee pot and said that drinking coffee late at night wasn't a good idea. I didn't sleep much. Why didn't you join me in bed? I went for a walk, but I didn't trust myself. What do you mean? Erica said Darlene's actions were foolish and naive given Jeff's qualities. She urged Darlene to let her know as soon as she was free from the marriage and ended the call. Darlene tried to calm her nerves, but it didn't help as she glanced at the list of women included Jenny, Jeff's secretary. She was a petite single mother and stunningly beautiful, but nearly 20 years younger than Jeff. She was at the top of the list, indicating her interest in dating her husband. Perhaps she was seeking a provider for herself and her child. Two other women were listed. One of them was married, as shown by the M next to her name. The remaining names belonged to women who worked alongside Jeff. Some of them were from Darlene's local area. Despite holding a degree in psychology, Jeff was recognized from their local area. He'd worked as a laborer during college and maintained his affinity for the trade, growing his business to encompass 3 teams. Darlene suspected he was evaluating these women's plumbing skills as well as the state of their homes. I was surprised when he said you could still go and find another thing that says a lot about the kind of husband he is. You're quite fortunate. Do you have any other questions? We'll need the other person's name for the flight tickets. No further questions. I'll get back to you soon with the name. Darlene replied. She tried to anticipate Miranda's response based on this information. After a moment, it clicked. You think you've outsmarted me. You and Lois made up this story about a Hawaii trip before I even mentioned divorce. I figured it out. She was proud of figuring it out without Miranda's help. Jeff let out a heavy sigh and suggested you should talk to your parents. What do my parents have to do with this? Who do you think will look after the girls while we're away? Fine, let's call them. Darlene responded, caught off guard. No need to rush into it. Dare I said. I'm already dialing. Jeff stated, but Jeff, her mother answered the call, recognizing the caller's number. Darlene? She then added her own expenses to the list, such as her gym membership, participation in a women's group, and dining out more than once a week. He even included some of the children's expenses, detailing fees for extracurricular activities, uniforms, and other essentials. On another page, he listed tasks that Darlene would need to take care of, including refueling the car, regular maintenance, arranging for a mechanic or plumber when needed, calling for heating and air conditioning repairs, lawn care, car washing, grocery shopping, and so forth. She had to set aside the notepad. Darn it, it's so frustrating when Jeff doesn't behave as he should. I need to give him what he wants. I'll call Miranda before Jeff wakes up. Hello, Miranda. If we go through with the divorce, I'll have to take on some of Jeff's responsibilities. He plans to rent an apartment and only take care of the girls on weekends. He thinks we should wait 90 days to see if we still want to proceed with the divorce. He doesn't seem too worried about it. What should I do? Should I listen to him? I hope this will help me find myself, explore new opportunities, and better myself so I can be a better wife and mother. That's what I'm aiming for, anyway. Mom Harold exclaimed, I know a thing or two about liberal lies. Darlene, do you have a boyfriend on the side? No, Dad, I don't, Darlene replied. We're sorry, Jeff, but we expect you to be polite to Darlene's new man. We're so sorry, Jeff. At least promise us you'll let us see our grandchildren after the divorce. Darlene interrupted before Jeff could respond. You didn't hear me. I don't want a divorce. You don't have to go anywhere. She pleaded. You said you wanted to divorce without talking to me first. Now you think you can unilaterally declare that we won't get divorced because things aren't going the way you planned. You don't seem to understand that I have a voice. After what I've learned about you over the past week, I'm not sure giving up on divorce is a good idea. I'll take a sleeping bag from the garage and stay in the apartment for Jeff. Please don't go. You and Robert will have a blast in the sun, fun, and amazing lovemaking. Miranda interjected, Wow, Jeff is more cunning than I gave him credit for. He claims he booked the trip ages ago. It was just a ploy to manipulate you into feeling guilty and halting the divorce proceedings. Don't fret. With your attractive figure, you'll find boyfriends as good as, if not better than Robert in no time. You'll be able to maintain your marriage and family while doing it. I had no idea he was capable of such deceit. He'll pay for this. Thanks, Miranda. I was on the verge of giving up. He's going to regret it dearly. Let's chat later. When Jeff came down the stairs, he had a small suitcase with him. So, you're trying to make it seem like you're already moving out? No worries. Bye and good riddance. Actually, I was just going to take a few things to I thought I'd move some stuff in before the first so I don't have to carry too much at once and scare the girls. Jenny said I could do that. Anyway, you seem different today. After the last family gathering, Sally offered to represent me for free if I ever needed a divorce lawyer. Wow, Jeff continued, we need to discuss something. I suggest you use the next 2 weeks to prepare for your divorce. That way we can start our separation on the 1st of the month. That's fine, but I'm not sure why we need to do anything before the separation period ends. Jeff explained, well, I suppose the purpose of the separation is to experience what life might be like after divorce. That way, we can decide if it's what we truly want. This separation period should serve as a sort of trial for post-dash. If we don't gain any clarity before the divorce, it could be messy. Does that make sense? I hadn't really thought about it. Darlene's resolve began to waver. How about this? Let's head to the kitchen, grab a notepad, and start outlining everything we need to do. I'll brew some coffee with those words. Jeff left the bed and headed to the kitchen, leaving Darlene to ponder. I'm at my wit's end. He's offering to maintain everything he did for the family while allowing me to date others on the side. I'm losing control of the situation rapidly. Jeff, I'm stunned. I need to get some rest. We'll reconvene tomorrow. I'm going back to bed. You continue. Sorry, honey, but I need to jot down something else before I turn in. You know how it is. The more groundwork we lay before the first day, the more at ease we'll be. Good night, dear Darlene. She barely slept and needed to speak to Miranda and update her on Jeff's unexpected response. Miranda would know the next steps, and this assurance allowed her to eventually drift off. She woke up to begin her day and immediately noticed Jeff wasn't there. In bed with her. Oh my God, this fool stayed up all night working on the divorce checklist. But when he got to the kitchen, Jeff wasn't there. Just a notepad on the table. Darlene peered into the guest bedroom to find her husband sound asleep.